Hello, everyone. My name is Troy Taylor. I'm a Microsoft MVP for Power Automate and Copilot Studio. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, Power Platform connectors, and how to use custom code in several ways to build out your connector. So a little bit about me. I'm a senior Power Platform consultant with Hitachi Solutions America. I'm here in Pennsylvania in the United States. And my claim to fame is that I'm an independent publisher, connector, publisher. I have over 200 certified connectors that are released for the Power Platform. This is about 1/6 of the almost 1,300 connectors that are available on the platform. So I've certainly spent a lot of time building connectors and dealing with a lot of different API services, and I enjoy it quite a lot. Otherwise, I wouldn't be publishing as many as I do. There's my LinkedIn and my Twitter. If you have any questions about how to create connectors or how to get them certified and published, certainly feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help out in the community. As you can see from my picture, when I'm not building custom connectors, I have a small farm with sheep and goats, and I do love to cuddle them. I do want to point out that the Microsoft Power Platform connectors repo on GitHub does qualify for Hacktoberfest contributions. So if you have connectors that you haven't submitted yet, or you see bugs in existing connectors, any of those independent publisher connectors, now is the time to submit those. And if you have any questions about that, I'm also happy to help with that. Hacktoberfest is once a year, a good time of the year to contribute connectors, but any time of the year is a good time to contribute connectors. All right. So many of you know what Power Platform connector is, but what is custom code in that Power Platform connector? And custom code allows you to transform both requests and the response payloads so that you can extend your connectors to perform additional actions that are not standard, not out of the box. There's no templates for them, or maybe there's no authentication methods available for it. And you can do all of that with custom code. Just keep in mind that custom code only allows you to have one C# script per connector, but you certainly can use if-else statements to handle your different operations. And keep in mind that the code must execute within 5 seconds, and the script file cannot be more than 1 megabyte. So these are, restrictions that Microsoft has put on the custom code service for you. Keep in mind these are not firm, hard rules, but they are there just to keep in mind when you're doing this development. So yes, I love to build connectors for the community. Independent publisher connectors are not services that the publishers own themselves. So people are often asking me, what service are you building for next? And one of the services I found this summer that I've been working on a connector for, it's a service I really love because it has a great free tier. So if you need to do anything with transforming PDFs or transforming images, certainly look it out. Give it, it's a great service out there. And so for my demo today, we're gonna go over 2 different examples. We're gonna have one example that goes over combining the 5 different actions here in this image. We're going to talk about how each of these actions are needed to ultimately download that transformed file for you. And we're going to take a cumbersome process and make it a lot easier, especially when you're using custom code, when you're building a custom connector, make it easy for your end users. So custom code for this example, it's a great way to make it better for your end users. There are some restrictions there. You have to keep in mind what namespaces Microsoft makes available to you. So you can't add your own namespaces. There's libraries you can't certainly add for your code, but just keep those in mind. During my demo, we're going to be using this context logger, which is great for debugging your actions in the connector editor. It's a tool that was made available, I believe, last year, and not a lot of people use that to the full extent to help in your debugging process. And like I mentioned before, we will definitely be using if statements to help control which part of your code is executed for which operation. Just so I don't have to switch back, let me review the second code example that I'll be showing. So one of the things that we're doing when we're making this connector action easy for end users is we're going to provide a drop-down list of all of the tools that are available for the service. And based off of that drop-down, what we're going to do is we're going to provide dynamic schemas for the additional parameters that are either required or optional, but optional for that tool. And so you'll see that not every parameter is available for each tool. And by dynamically loading that, it makes a great experience for your end user. All right, so that's all of my deck. Let's go over now and get right into it. All right. So as I mentioned, go on Microsoft Learn. If you're just starting to build a custom connector, or you want to learn more advanced operations, certainly look to Microsoft Learn as a great starting point for that. We're specifically, we're talking about this page here about writing code in custom connector. And there's lots of great technical requirements laid out for you and some samples here. So that's that page. Next, building out your custom connector, you certainly have to keep in mind what's available in your API. And so I've shown it here. You can see here the 4 operations. We're going to add a 5th operation to handle authentication as well. But yes, you can see, what the action it needs to be, what endpoint you need to call, and then, whatever the API provides for different parameter options for that as well. One of the things you might notice here is the responses are very limited. And so, you keep in mind when you're building custom connector, make sure that you fully develop for both the request parameters and the response parameters. Make it easy for your end users. All right, we're going to step through a couple different tabs here now. So here is the first iteration of the connector that I built out. You can see here, here's the 5 operations I had in that image earlier. We're going to authenticate. We're going to start the process for transforming the image. We have to upload the image or point it towards whatever public URL is for the image or PDF. We're going to start the process. We have to do a second action for that. So once it's available once the file's available within the service, we have to start the process. And then finally, we're going to download. And so as you see here, this first action it's very common for API services where we're turning a public key that the API makes available, and we're going to create a use token for this. So let's go ahead and call this action. You can see here that my public key has been exchanged for a token. So let's go ahead. We're going to copy that, and I'll show you where you need to keep using these for each of these actions. So see here, we're going to paste it here in the start action. We're going to paste the token here. We're going to paste the token here, and we're going to paste the token here. Now, certainly when you're building Power Automate, yes, you could certainly be, have this all set out, have those parameters all configured, and let your flow run and have it call all those actions. But we're gonna try to simplify this. So you see now that I've called this start process, you can see that not only do I have a task ID that's been assigned for the process, but also that it's given me a specific server that the service is going to use for this process. So we're going to copy the task ID, make sure that's added for each of those additional actions. Look at that. And let's go ahead, and now we need to copy that server host as well. Let's copy that. Okay, we're going to paste it in each of these additional actions. All pasted here. All right, let's go back to the upload. So this upload, just for the demo, I'm going to use a cloud file. Let's go ahead and get that uploaded. And you can see now that the API is returning a server file name. Doesn't match the file name I have the original file, but that's okay. We have that server file name. You can see now that I also need to copy that into the process action. It's not required for the download action, but it is for the process. So let's go ahead and get that started. That's successful. You can see here, that the file is now available. We have a task success here, and we should be good to go. Now it should be all available. The process is finished, and you can see ultimately, that the PDF file has been returned here. That's all great. So the service works. We know it works in the Power Platform with this custom connector. But let's make it a little easier. So this is a second custom connector I made, and what it does here is in this case I've used custom code. All right. So I know this small white box is quite small. So let's switch over and show it in Visual Studio Code. Okay. So here's the code. I will make this available definitely when I do submit the connector for submission. But if you want to get a copy of this code, certainly reach out to me, and I'll freely give this to you. But here's the custom code that I've built. You can see that namespaces have been defined. We're using that execute async, and we've started the logger, made that available. You can see that I've set up some tasks already, some other variables that don't change based off of, whether it's a testing situation or production situation. So those we're going to hard code. And you can see that I've also used an if statement to match it for operation IDs. This is for the final connector, so it has both operations for PDF and image, which I've separated out in that final. And you can see, we're starting to get information from that action. All right, so we have to define those and make those available within the custom code. And then we have several blocks here. So we start out, with that exchanging of the API key, making the token, making it available. And you can see that it's ultimately been signed as a bearer token. That's what's going to be used for the other actions. We're going to go, we're going to do that second action in that diagram. We're going to start the request. There's code there. We're going to upload the request. We're going to process the request. And ultimately, we're going to finally download the request and return the response to the action. So let's go back over to the custom code. You can see here, I have this one operation, this one action. We're defining the tool, we're giving the file name, and we're setting the cloud file. Let's go ahead, let's test this. So here, I'm not going to have to copy any of those response parameters. And you can see, within that 5 seconds, or, give it a little extra for the server connections, I've returned the PDF, made it available in one operation. So I'm calling all 5 of those custom code components to get that same file that we got in the original connector. All right. Ultimately, though, there's additional custom code that I want. So I wrote out all the custom code, made stringing those operations together, made that all cool. But ultimately, let's go back But ultimately, like I said, I want to make this as easy as I can for the users. So, there's dozens of tools available, and each tool has its own parameters that are either required or optional based off of, the selected tool. So what I'm going to do here using custom code is I'm going to set up a dictionary. Okay. And what this dictionary does, we're going to take a look at, this compress tool, is it sets up a JSON object. And this JSON object is what's going to be returned as the response for the action. So what it does is, it sets it up as a JSON object, and it's giving, in this case, the compress tool only has the parameter compress level. But what I've done is I've written out all of the keys that are needed for that dynamic schema. The type, the description, title. In this case, it's enumerated, so it's gonna have limited options, and it's gonna have the default action. Now, this is all stuff, if you were doing it without custom code, you would still configure your parameter for the custom connector to do this. So, what this is ultimately going to do is when we go to a flow, and we go to this compressed PDF, you can see that. In this case, it's already been loaded, but the compressed level schema has been returned. But let's go ahead. Let's change it. Let's pick another one. Page numbers, I think, has multiple options. Yeah, there we go. And if we're looking at page numbers for the PDF tool, you can see all of these other parameters are available. None of them are required, of course, but they're optional, and we've given default values as part of that dynamic schema for all of them. In this case, making it the best custom connector that we can do. I've split out PDF tools from image tools, so you can see that those are available and are returned dynamically as well. So here, we're watermarking an image, and these are the slightly different parameters that are available based off of that tool. Okay. Lastly, I'd like to, again, point out the Microsoft Power Platform Connectors repo. This is the open source repo for not only independent publisher connectors, but also certified connectors from those third-party ISVs, as well as custom connectors that are available from Microsoft. So this is a great jumping off point. If you want to extend connectors, you want to get examples for how connectors work, certainly look up this repo and check it out. All right, that's it for me. Thanks.